we all ride the roller coaster of fantasy football. So let's go ahead. We're gonna get into a little bit of a discussion of fantasy football here. Who we think has been good, who we think has been bad, who do you think you should trade away, who do you think should keep, drops, etc. Everything, kind of cover a whole broad base of some fantasy football here. So let's go ahead and get into it. Does anybody want to start us off? If not, I am more than ready to start us off.
Go ahead.
All right, Rachaad White sucks. I drafted this dude. What?
I was going to say, so does Bucky Irving after tonight's game.
Well, I mean, listen, but Bucky Irving's a rookie. So I'd expect that. Let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. I just want to make sure I know where I drafted. I drafted in the 4th round, 7th pick. I don't think that was much of a reach.
It's normal.
I think that was all right. Listen, the 4th round, you're the RB1 on your team. You were good last year. Did I think you're going to split carries with Bucky Irving? Personally, yes, I did.
Really?
I did. Yeah, I thought, listen, they drafted Bucky Irving pretty high in the draft. I thought that if you're going to draft a running back that high, he's obviously going to get his chance. But God damn it, dude. Like, let's run. Like, what frustrates me is we literally just watched the Bucks score 30 points. Where's Rachaad White? You're the RB1. Like, this dude has put up, hold on, let me make sure I get this correct. This dude has put up, we'll go position right
And this is a generous league we're in.
This is a very generous league we're in. So first week, he had 15 rushing attempts. Since then, not more than 10.
Yeah.
Love that.
He's had more than 5 receptions twice. One game he had 1. The other ones he had 2 and 3. I'm kind of stalling because I can't find where his points are. Found him. He had 18, 3, 9, 13, 10.
Wow.
RB1.
Right now, among PPR running backs, somehow, some way. No, I guess no, because there are 32 teams in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's ranked 32.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah.
Thank God there's not a backup that has more points than him. But I mean,
Braylon Allen?
he might.
I think he does. He had one good week.
Rachaad White got no good. So I guess that's just mine. I mean, this is a league where I definitely needed running backs to produce because I didn't draft a running back until Rachaad White. Is that my fault? Probably. But I didn't like any of the other running backs when I was going to take them. Now, I got a little bit saved because J.K. Dobbins and David Montgomery have been really good. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately had to start White this week, as we're talking about this in week 5, where I almost said the Tigers, sorry, the Lions, wrong, Jumbo Cat in Detroit. The Lions
are on bye.
Yeah. So I had to start him. I was going to sit him. I sat him last week. I had to kind of have a bone to pick with Rachaad White, right?
That's right.
Fuck it.
Do you got a guy you want to go with?
I mean, as far as we're 5 weeks in, just watched him play. I'm really disappointed in my boy, Bijan Robinson.
You have his jersey.
I mean, he drafted him top 7. Mm-hmm. You got to look at, he was supposed to be that guy, right? Him or Breece Hall. Those are the first 2 running backs off the board in most leagues, obviously, depending on what league you are.
Unless you had the inside scoop on McCaffrey.
Yeah, nobody did.
Fair, yeah,
nobody did.
But I mean, yeah, you look at Bijan Robinson, he's just not getting. I feel like he's getting enough touches, but not as much as as a fantasy owner I would like, right?
Yeah.
Because Tyler Algier is still there. He's getting plenty of touches there as well. But you look at Bijan is getting like the dump offs, some rushing, or like 10 to 12, maybe 15 rushing attempts.
That's not going to cut it for an RB1 that you drafted.
Yeah, you drafted in the first round. You want a workhorse, right? A guy that's going to touch the rock 30 times a game. But we'll see. We'll see if he picks it up towards the second half of the season. Maybe he finds his legs. But I think I really want to see more production out of in the receiving game. Because he catches everything. I think Kirko doesn't like dumping down.
I think he's
spinning, dude.
I think he's definitely lacking the touchdowns, which is what's really hurting him.
It's 5 weeks, no touchdowns, so that'll do it. So, to say the least, yeah, definitely lacking touchdowns.
So to put this into perspective, I pulled this up. He did double Algier and carries, 12. 12 still not all that much.
Mm-hmm.
6, but they also had the same amount of receptions. Both 3. He went for 16 yards on 3 receptions, and Algier went for 13.
Okay.
I think that if you're going to try and get the ball to him, and maybe, listen, everybody thought that it was the reason Bijan wasn't really getting involved was because their OC last year. I guess maybe that's proven not to be the case, although 15 touches in a game, total touches in a game, is a lot. Maybe he's not that guy you run in between the tackles, obviously, but you got to draw some stuff up, get your playmakers the ball. I mean, they did a good job getting Drake London the ball tonight.
I would say probably for the
85
first time.
receptions.
For the first time, probably
I'd say in a long
all
time,
season,
almost
though.
damn near in his career.
Yeah, that's
That's
actually
what everyone. Drake Leonard produced what everyone expected when Kirk Cousins signed with them.
No,
Right?
Exactly.
100%.
Drake Leonard's never really. He was fucking catching balls from Desmond Ritter last year.
that part.
Or what's his face? Taylor Heineke.
Heineke.
All right,
Yeah,
we don't need to shit on
gross.
Taylor Heineke.
Gross. But yeah, finishes with 12 catches,
Yeah.
150 yards and a touchdown.
I mean,
Scary hit, got a little banged up throughout the game, but he continued to play. He shows the toughness there. Yeah, AD, do you have a guy that you're pretty disappointed in so far?
I'm looking at a guy that owns him in fantasy football right now, and it's Mark Andrews.
Yeah. That's,
And I mean, you're drafting this guy to be a what? I'm not gonna say top 3 because I think those days were past him even before the draft.
mhm.
But for sure, top 6, top 7, for sure, a premium tight end. And I mean, what? This is consecutive weeks with a goose.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think draft. It's been a rough year for tight ends.
Yeah, to say the least.
But to call that rough would be an understatement because zeros, and that's what you get from maybe guys like, I don't even know, Tyler Conklin or, your little flyers here and there, but not a guy you're
Guys that
drafting
you're
in.
streaming every week.
Yeah,
And by the way,
it's-
I'll say not Tyler Conklin with Aaron Rodgers. He throws them a lot.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, shit, more than fucking.
But more than Mark Andrews. And I mean, for a guy you're drafting, let's say no later than the 6th, 7th round, no later. And maybe as early as the late 4th, probably fit,
Yeah.
And I think if you're drafting a tight end, especially in those positions, you need way more. And Gooses, I mean, you could literally probably pick up any other tight end
Mhm.
and they're going to get you a point. So-
yeah, and you can't even argue that it's because of Isaiah Likely anymore because he had that one, or the first week and the second week, those 2 breakout weeks.
Mhm.
But just Lamar hasn't needed to throw to them.
Yeah.
Or to utilize the tight ends really. They're there to block. We're a run first team. Obviously, the Ravens are. And if anything, if the season continues to go like last week, where we're handing the ball off to
Do
Derrick
it.
Henry,
Do it.
there's
Please.
going to be a limit. Mark Andrews will become droppable. And that's so crazy to say, even compared to him being hurt last year and stuff.
And I would say he was doing great last year before he got hurt.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
So I mean, it's all of a sudden just Lamar doesn't want to get him the ball, and I mean, I guess you signed Derrick Henry for that reason, to be as dominant as they looked last week.
Yeah.
But I mean, zeros is unheard of for him.
I think it speaks
so-
volumes that I looked up. 'Cause I was curious because, oddly enough, talking about tight ends that normally block, you think about Kittle. And Kittle is the number 2 tight end, at least in the fantasy league I'm looking at right now. And
Yep.
Kittle missed a week.
You might even miss this week.
So that speaks volumes. I mean, Kittle here, at least in this week, went 8 points, 8.5 the first week, 22 against the Vikings,
Mm-hmm.
missed the week, and then went 15 against the Patriots.
Yep.
Yeah. You're not really, when that's still getting you the second highest tight end in fantasy football,
Been a bad
that's
year.
rough.
It's been a bad year.
That's rough. I mean, and you're thinking about, you're talking about the Ravens, and yeah, if they keep using Derrick Henry, and I have no idea why they wouldn't. You send out a package where you got Likely. They always love to run those 2 tight end packages.
Especially given
And-
that receiver room.
And I'll tell you what, when they got Patrick Card back there too, lead blocking for Derrick Henry, it's hard enough to stop Derrick Henry, let alone with 2 tight ends and Ricard back there. Derrick Henry's going to keep doing what he's doing if they're going to give him the rock.
Yep.
And it's interesting, the good blocking that they offer. You normally see those big home runs from Derrick Henry in like the 3rd and 4th quarter where, where he's been pounding it all game.
Pounding the D.
Yeah, pounding the all game. And then they get worn out, tired, whatever, and then he busts for a 70-yard long touchdown. But that's not what you see.
But after
Derrick
his
Henry.
24th carry.
That's Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
But when it's the first play of the game, and he bounces, and listen, and people were calling Derrick Henry washed. People were calling Derrick Henry maybe a little bit slow. No, I've always been a King Henry lover.
Yeah.
He was pulling away from guys.
Yeah. Still.
Safeties and corners in that first run.
Yeah.
Everybody should be fresh. Everybody.
Yeah.
I get pulling away from guys when it's the third quarter and you've worn them out for touching the ball 22 times, trying to run them over.
Yeah.
But that's the first play of the game. Yeah. Everybody's fresh, and he's pulling away from everybody. It's impressive.
Yeah.
I don't, like you were saying, I don't see a future. It could obviously change. The Ravens have such a good dynamic offense to where one game they could run Derrick Henry for 30, and then when they stack the box, they go out there, and Lamar's so talented, they could go out there and spray the ball all over the place and win a game like that. So, but I will say that I could definitely see, I don't see a future for Mark Andrews, at least right now, with the way it looks like their offense is going to go. It's funny how Harbaugh said that they weren't going to give the ball to Henry 30 times, and then it turns out maybe the winning formula for your team is to give the ball to Henry 30 times.
I think that's what happens when you start 0-2. You're like, we got to change something up.
Do something. Like, so, we got to give the huge guy we gave a bunch of money more touches. And listen, dude, there's still, one game back? You're welcome.
For what?
The division?
The division. You're welcome.
The Colts for that one.
You're welcome. Colts are wide.
Joe Flacco now?
Joe Flacco's a Steeler killer.
You want to talk? He really is. He was wearing purple out there.
I love it.
But I will say, you want to talk about disappointment.
So funny how Joe Flacco's the best quarterback on the Colts. I love it. I love it.
He's got them their only win.
They're 2-2, big.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who bought into the Anthony Richardson
They beat the Bears last week.
Oh, they did. That was an ugly win, though.
I don't know who bought into the Anthony
It was a win.
Richardson hype, but if you did,
keep buying.
Return to sender. Because he is Mr. Glass. He is Samuel L. Jackson. He is fragile. And I'm saying this as a Lamar fan. And Anthony Richardson, you can't touch him because he's gonna be out a couple weeks. It just shows that what the Colts need is to have a passing game to use with Jonathan Taylor, and with Anthony Richardson not completing, barely 10 passes in a game.
He went 3 for 4 before he got hurt.
Well, guess what? He got hurt.
I know.
He's one of the youngest quarterbacks in the league.
And I think you got to look at a guy like Lamar Jackson, who he's bigger than him. I don't know if I would say faster, but certainly bigger. And I mean, just because you can take the hits doesn't mean you need to. And especially at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
I mean, look how skinny Lamar is. He's done just fine up until this point about, making his guys miss or playing it safe and sliding. Yeah. And I think he could definitely take a note out of his book and, learn how to do that, because clearly the hits, they're stacking up now.
Like I said with Lamar, he just has the talent of avoiding the big hit. And Richardson doesn't. And I did bring up the Colts, not for them to get shit on, but apparently that's what was going to happen. They have the same record as the Ravens, so I need you to relax. Tougher division too. So we'll
no arguments here.
Look out, dude.
The division that has the 0-4 Jaguars?
The Titans won,
got
baby.
it. Yeah, tougher division.
Will Levis might be driving the wagon. You never know.
The Titans are terrible.
Listen.
Jaguars are 0-4. The Colts are terrible. The best team is the Texans, and they almost lost last week.
They did it.
And the Colts almost lost too. Listen. The Colts only won because do you know what their game plan for? Sorry in advance. You know what the game plan was for TJ Watt? This right here, baby. That's what it was. They just hold on for dear life. But like I said, I didn't bring up the Colts for them to get dookied on. I brought up the Colts for one guy to get dookied on, and that's just because they're not giving him the ball. In the first part, we brought up USC wide receivers. And unfortunately, this USC wide receiver has not seen the production that maybe he his contract certainly says he should.
Hey, but finally,
Look who was throwing the ball to him before last week.
Just
saying.
finally got the ball, and I mean they won.
Guess what? You give the best receiver on your team some targets, you might win a game. You might produce
They won last week.
You might produce at the wide receiver level.
They won last week.
I'm
2
just
weeks
saying.
ago.
I would say you can't live
They
off
beat
of
your Caleb Williams Bears.
You can't live off of 2 nice 50-yard bombs to Alex
Yes,
Pierce.
I can.
You can't live off.
Yes,
that.
I can.
It
And
can't.
I will.
That's not going to win you ball games.
It's like hits of cocaine.
All right.
Jeez.
This is a family show.
Sure, Rush. Win. Win.
I'm just saying, it doesn't surprise me that
Germany can do it. I can do it.
You get Joe Flacco in, who says, "Fuck it, I'm gonna sling the ball," right?
Mhm.
Like he did last year when he comeback player of the year, deservedly so. He goes
came
in
back
there
from
and he's
death.
like, "Wow, I have this 6'4", almost all pro wide receiver one on my team, who is seen maybe before that game a total of 10 targets in 3 to 4 weeks. Ridiculous.
Certainly not 10 catches.
Yeah,
Certainly not.
ridiculous. Guess what? You feed the man, you produce on offense, you win a ball game. Simple as that.
All right, we're going off the Colts. All right, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go to the Texans. Tank Dell sucks.
Hey, he's coming off injury.
He's been hurt, but he does suck.
No, there's lots of mouths to feed. Okay, but can you say that about Dalton Schultz this year then?
Yes.
He doesn't suck, but he's not seeing anywhere
It's
near.
Dalton Schultz. People were thinking Tank Dell was the next freaking Julian Edelman with how he was producing last week.
Yeah, and Tank Dell and Stroud were boys, but then Stroud kicked him to the side like a bum girlfriend and picked up fucking Stephon Diggs.
I'm just saying, when you look at it, everyone was saying in fantasy especially, oh, Tank Dell's going to be that guy. Stephon Diggs is not going to be it. He's going to be the third option there.
To be fair, I did
Stephon
also say
Diggs
that Stephon Diggs was going to be
Is shown that, hey, he's still Stephon Diggs. He's going to produce. And CJ Stroud trusts him, in the little time that they've had together compared to, him and Tank Dell's relationship. Obviously being hurt doesn't help Tank Dell. But he is coming back for that. So we'll see if he can produce. Because guess what? Having 3 really good wide receivers is better than having 2. So we'll see.
And we will.
We'll see if he can produce. But I mean, you look at the Texans, it was a little scary last week. A little shaky.
Wasn't great.
It
wasn't great. And I mean, it came down literally to their last offensive drive.
Yeah.
So,
But you love to see that. You love to see that they can,
Yeah, I mean, as a fan,
They should.
it's not so much fun to watch, but
it'll raise your blood pressure. But
I mean, I think well, going off the wide receiver 2 talk, 3 talk, I think it's hard when your main guy is Nico Collins, who is leading the NFL in receiving yards. So I think that gap from 1 to 2, I think it's big for anyone between Diggs. I mean, I'm not going to put Dalton Schultz in there, or Tank. So I think, either one's going to have an all right game, but I think you're still going to see Nico eating because he's been an absolute machine this year already.
Yeah.
So, of course, the disparity between the two, I don't think it's going to be that different come the end of the year, but we'll see.
I think Tank Dell will have 2 to 3 games where they're going to need him. And if you're talking fantasy-wise, he's going to get 20, 30-plus points. But then he's going to live in that range that he's in now for the majority of the season. I can see that because
for sure.
When you have 3 really good wide receivers like that, you're going to have people game plan for Collins and Diggs. Tank Dell might slip out of a lot of the film that the team watches. They don't set up properly for Tank Dell, and then Tank Dell is going to make them regret it. I'm not saying, and we're just, well, obviously we said at the beginning, but we're just talking fantasy-wise. Obviously, Tank Dell is a talent, but as a fantasy owner, I'd be a little bit worried unless he's like one of those guys where, you've benched him and he's sitting on your bench for 5 weeks and then all of a sudden you're regretting not playing him because he puts up 34. So you play him the next week and he puts up 4.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to be very boom or bust this season with Diggs there. And as long as him and Nico stay healthy, I think you're going to see this little production here and then nothing the next week. It's going to be a roller coaster. So if you have him in fantasy, good luck trying to pick the weeks, to play him.
I mean, he's kind of like what? He's kind of like a Rashid Shaheed, right? When you look at
with 2 ACLs.
Look at the first 2 weeks. Shaheed had those big bombs to get the bonus. In our leagues, we have big bonuses, right?
Yeah.
So you're getting 20+ points on 3 or 4 catches, but because they're long catches, you get a lot of points. But then guess what? As soon as I trade for him, the week I trade for him, I start him. 0 points.
Patrick Mahomes hates him.
Love fantasy football.
Took out his knee.
Oh, he's talking about Rashid Shaheed.
Oh, Rashid Shaheed. That's my fault. He was good last week. My bad. For some reason, I'm sorry, dude. I'm still so flustered about the Colts. You have no idea. The Colts didn't deserve what you guys did.
Truth hurts.
Truth hurts. No, it's not the truth. They're 2-2.
I wasn't here to defend the Ravens when you guys shedded them last.
I didn't shit on the Ravens.
It's okay. It's okay.
I didn't shit on the Ravens.
Beating the Cowboys at home isn't a good win. It's
I
okay.
picked the Ravens.
It's okay.
Cowboys are the
look like
Cowboys.
ass, too.
It's all right. Ravens have one of the harder schedules to begin with in the season, so being 2-2 is pretty good. Should have beat the Raiders and the Chiefs. Should be 4-0. We don't have to talk about that, though.
But you're not.
It's okay.
You're doing 2 like the Colts.
Yeah, well, Joe Flacco's a little better than Anthony Richardson.
I think even at what is he like 40?
He's like 38.
He's like 38. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I want you to, when you say Joe Flacco's name, I want you to call him former Super Bowl MVP Joe Flacco.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Listen, dude wanted do what? I will tell you, it did shock me. I was listening to an interview. He said that he got no phone calls after that last year he had in Cleveland. Like the Colts were the only team to hit him up.
Really?
Which I thought was weird because if I look at the NFL right now, I understand he's AR's backup. He's better than some of the 32 starting quarterbacks right now. Like you're looking, he's certainly, listen, I love him.
I would say he's better than Gardner Minshew.
I was literally about to bring that up. Pro Bowler last year, Gardner Minshew. Led the Colts almost to the
playoffs. That just shows you how trash the Pro Bowl is, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Were there like 8 dudes that dropped out? Yes. But he was a Pro Bowler, all right.
Ew.
But yeah, someone like Minshew,
Yeah.
It does shock me that, maybe you give Daniel Jones, one more try, but it does shock me that someone like the Giants didn't go on ground.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like that guy where if you want to win and be competitive, he's very similar to Andy Dalton. They're gonna win you games.
Yeah.
They're talented. But we'll see how it goes. All right, guys. One trade. If you were to want somebody right now you think you could get on the low because they've had a slower start, try and get them on the low. Is there anybody that comes to your mind where you're like, oh yeah, I'd want that guy because he's kind of going to go off now that the league's starting to settle in. We're heading into week 5.
I mean, off the top of my head, I'm looking at a guy like maybe Chris Olave, who has been not too, explosive as maybe being the wide receiver one on a, at least for the first 3 weeks, a really good Saints team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at him like he's been averaging, 15 to 20 points a week. So he could be a guy that could turn up and actually get you the production that you want. Obviously, if you have the right price for him, you're not trading a king's ransom for him. But
yeah,
I think he's a good guy to acquire. I mean, someone that's actually had a really hot start. I own him. Nico Collins. If you want to trade for Nico Collins, if you can, I think he's going to be consistently,
You obviously have to not overpay for him, but be a higher price. But
he's
still going to put it up.
He's a wide receiver 2 in fantasy, so you're going to have to pay, wide receiver 2 price. Yeah, I mean, also, I don't know if I'm taking any one of yours, but a guy maybe to buy on the low is Tyreek Hill.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Could be. So the guy that popped into my mind right away was Brandon Ayuk. Got big money, all that. No training camp, no nothing. Missed the first week too, right? So
he
played. My bad.
He just played so bad that you thought he missed.
Yeah, probably. Well, no, that's not true because he dropped a touchdown. I would have won that week.
Exactly. He played that bad.
Well, but I saw him.
Yeah, there you go.
But so I think a lot of people, including myself, are kind of panicking on Brandon Ayuk. Now this might, looking back, going 11 weeks in the future, looking back, this might be a time where you look at me as a good fantasy owner or a bad fantasy owner, depending on how Brandon Ayuk goes. But I'm going to hold on to him. I like that offense. Obviously, that offense got a lot of weapons. It looks like Mason's kind of filled in. Now, nobody can fill in for CMC.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like he's doing a great job.
He's producing pretty well, fantasy-wise, for sure.
Certainly. But so you're looking at, I just think that that's someone that it's one of those guys where it's Brandon Ayuk. He's got to figure it out. Something's going to happen. Kyle Shanahan's going to start drawing up some plays for him, whatever. Kyle Shanahan's probably the best play caller and play designer in the NFL, I'd say well, the only people that come to mind for me are like Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. He's also really good.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's Brandon Ayuk. If you can get him for a lower price, I think some people are still going to want a higher price because it is Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
I think you could get him for
It's all about potential, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But they do also say that if you build your team off of potential, it's the best way to get fired.
Yeah.
So that's someone that comes to mind for me.
I think for me, it's more of a matter of a guy that's just been hurt is going to be AJ Brown personally, and I think someone that might be hurting as far as that might have been their number one pick. And I mean, they might be hurting on some depth, and they're like, especially with them on a bye week this week. I think he comes back week 6, probably healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then you got him for the rest of the season. You don't have to worry about the bye week. Hopefully the injuries past him. And I mean, like I said, you got him for the rest of the season. You don't got to worry about the bye. So that's someone for me that I'm personally looking at. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but that's just what I'm thinking.
That's a good guy to kind of fallen off the radar just due to injury, right?
Not play.
Yeah, obviously when he's healthy, he's top 10 wide receiver in the league, some would say. So if you can snag your hands on him for the cheap, that might be a good, kind of, or at least cheaper price compared to when he's fully healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Has 4 or 5 weeks of stats, right? But yeah, that's a guy that you can get your hands on. That's for the right price.
I'd say if your team's rolling, you might even want to be a risky guy and wait after week 6. If AJ Brown goes out there and doesn't look great, you might get a massive panic from that person.
Yeah, that's also true.
But
I feel like that's a gamble.
But that's certainly a gamble.
Yeah,
you could go out there and be AJ Brown.
Exactly. So I guess it just depends where you're going to teeter at.
Yeah, it just depends. Like I said, it's only if you're like in a good spot.
Yeah,
where, like you don't need AJ Brown. If your team's good, looking to make it great, really a good contender, you could risk that weight. But also, if you're thinking, if you're also just want to take the risk, I guess it's still AJ Brown.
Yeah,
just do it now.
Yeah, fair.